like a worm in the bud, feed on her damask cheek. Nowadays a girl lays herself at the feet of a man if she likes him, turns herself inside out to let him and all the world read her heart. I have no relish to be like Viola's sister and have my story a blank. I never grovelled at the feet of Joe Pomeroy or James Hattersley. No, but you let each other consider himself the favoured one till he proposed, and then you refused him. It was like smiling at a man and then stabbing him to the heart. Well, I don't want people to think that James Hattersley cared for me. I certainly never cared for him, nor that he proposed, so I shall go to the ball. Julia Demant was an orphan. She had been retained at school till she was 18, and then had been removed just at the age when a girl begins to take an interest in her studies, and not to regard them as drudgery. On her removal she had cast away all that she had acquired, and had been plunged into the whirl of society. Then suddenly her father died. She had lost her mother some years before, and she went to live with her aunt, Miss Fleming. Julia had inherited the sum of about £500 a year, and would probably come in for a good estate, and funds as well, on the death of her aunt. She had been flattered as a girl, at home and at school as a beauty, and she certainly thought no small bones of herself. Miss Fleming was an elderly lady with a sharp tongue, very outspoken, and very decided in her opinions. But her action was weak, and Julia soon discovered that she could bend the aunt to do anything she willed, though she could not modify or alter her opinions. In the matter of Joe Pomeroy and James Hattersley, it was as Miss Fleming had said. Julia had encouraged Mr. Pomeroy, and had only cast him off because she thought better of the suit of Mr. Hattersley, son of an admiral of that name. She had seen a good deal of young Hattersley, had given him every encouragement, had so entangled him that he was madly in love with her. And then when she came to know the lion, James Lawler, and saw that he was fascinated, she rejected Hattersley, with the consequences alluded to in the conversation above given. Julia was particularly anxious to be present at the county ball, for she had been already booked by Mr. Lawler for several dances, and she was quite resolved to make an attempt to bring him to a declaration. On the evening of the ball, Miss Fleming and Julia entered the carriage. The aunt had given way, as was her wont, but under protest. For about 10 minutes neither spoke, and then Miss Fleming said, "Well, you know my feelings about this dance. I do not approve. I distinctly disapprove. I do not consider your going to the ball in good taste, or as you would put it, in good form. Poor young Hattersley. Oh dear, aunt, do let us put young Hattersley aside. He was buried with the regular forms, I suppose." "Yes, Julia." Then the rector accepted the verdict of the jury at the inquest. Why should not we? A man who is unsound in his mind is not responsible for his actions. I suppose not. Much less than I, who live 10 miles away. I do not say that you are responsible for his death, but for the condition of mind which led him to do the dreadful deed. Really, Julia, you were one of those into whose head or heart, only by a surgical operation, could the thought be induced that you could be in the wrong. A hypodermic syringe will be too weak an instrument to effect such a radical change in you. Everyone else may be in the wrong. You never. As for me, I cannot get young Hattersley out of my head." "And I," retorted Julia with asperity, for her aunt's words had stung her. "I, for my part, do not give him a thought." She had hardly spoken the words before a chill wind began to pass round her. She drew the barège shawl that was over her bare shoulders closer about her and said, "Auntie, is the glass down on your side?" "No, Julia, why do you ask?" "There is such a draught." "Draught? I do not feel one. Perhaps the window on your side hitches." "Indeed, that is all right. It is blowing harder and is deadly cold. Can one of them..."